When we first left the country, remote work wasn't really an option. But as technology progressed, the world opened up to the possibility of people really having that choice to work remotely. In this episode, we want to talk to one of the brothers who is creating opportunity for people to learn how to code and learn how to earn their income outside of their home country. All right, bro, can you tell us a little bit about your background and how you got into coding?
Yeah, so Bismillah, Alhamdulillah, wa salatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah. My background is in business and entrepreneurship. My journey into coding began kind of out of necessity in two ways. One, I had built about 4 startups where, me and my partners invested a lot of money, upwards of $250,000 in different, startups. We hired teams in different countries, namely India, Ukraine, Latin America, different places, but it never panned out, right? And this is before I myself became a software engineer. And after that, I decided at some point, I said, the next startup that I build, I want to make sure I know how to code myself so I can build, for example, the MVP myself. This took a few years, but I eventually decided to take the jump when I moved to Egypt back in 2017 with my family. And, now I had to figure out what I am going to do, the finances, right? Like in terms of income, in terms of my career, what am I going to do? Am I going to be, again, I have a degree in marketing and finance, it's not as flexible. So I have to ask myself, the question, what can I do to be able to maintain my hijrah, earn decent enough income, and, be able to pretty much live wherever I want to work remotely, right? And alhamdulillah, that led me to the realization, the decision, bifadlillah azza wa jal, that it has to be tech, right? It has to be, at the time I said, I have to become a software engineer programmer. I remember, subhanallah, back in 2017, this is after I moved, some several months back, I went back to New York City, and I, said, you know what, I'm going to actually apply for a job in a tech company, but I'm going to go on the business side. I'm going to go on the sales side, since I come with, with a marketing and finance degree. Let me go into a sales role and then eventually transition into engineering after I learned how to code. I remember walking into a startup in Manhattan and for an interview, right? And as I walk in, I see this huge, big open room, and I see these people sitting there, right? What I learned later were engineers. And I was mesmerized. I was impressed by what I was seeing, all these guys in front of these computers. It just looked so lively, and I loved what I saw. I went into, and I said to myself, whatever those guys are doing, that's what I want to do. I don't even know what it is, but I kind of thought it was tech, right? I already had a background a bit. So I said, this must be the engineering team, and I want to be there. So I went into into this meeting conference room that they have, and the company is ZocDoc, if you heard of them, right? Huge when it comes to, medical bookings and stuff like that. The moment the interviewer came into the room, I didn't even care about our interview no more. I said, who are those guys? He said, that's our tech team. I said, wow, okay. All right, cool. So we went, I said, I want to be there. I want to be one of those guys. The guy laughed. He laughed. I said, great. I love that. I went through the interview. I didn't even care anymore about the interview. Of course, I did it, the best way possible. I left that interview. I left that office knowing there's no turning back. I am going into engineering. I'm going to become a software engineer, and I'm going to be one of those guys with idhnillahi ta'ala. My brother was waiting for me because this was in Soho, so he's waiting in the car downstairs. I came out. I said, I know exactly what I'm going to do. It's done. Right there in the car, I started looking for programming boot camps. Alhamdulillah, applied. Eventually, Allah Azza wa Jal granted me tawfiq to be able to get into a boot camp in New York City that was very popular. And I joined the program, walillah alhamd. And it was a 15-week program, intense, very intense. The hardest thing I've ever done in my life, hands down. But I knew I had to do this for myself, for my family, and for the sake of my deen and for my hijrah. And that's pretty much how it happened. And I did that, and the rest is history. That's where I'm at today. Walillah alhamd.
So what inspired you to make a company to teach people how to code for the purposes of making Hijrah?
Yeah. So connecting to that last question, right? when I went into this, my own self going into tech as an engineer, becoming an engineer, was for the sake of Hijrah, right? Like I didn't care. It was not because, I mean, I love tech, don't get me wrong, because but I love more building companies on the business side. That's more my passion, right? Solving problems. But I know that tech is a facilitator, or a way to do that in an amazing way. But really, that was not the reason why I decided to spend 4 or even 6 extended cruciating months learning how to code. And I left my family behind for a whole year, by the way, to do this. It was for the sake of Hijrah. That's why I did it. And once I did it and I saw how it changed my life, and I also became a teacher with the same bootcamp that I graduated from, and I worked there for over 2 years, working with a lot of students. I saw how it changed people's lives, right? In a large scale. So because of this, since I finished that program and I was teaching, I always said to myself, I want to one day be Ibnillah. I hope I can, start something to teach other people, or at least motivate people to go into this field. And over the years, I was able to encourage several people to go into it. And alhamdulillah, worked out very well. And recently, now that I'm more settled, and I know, like, alhamdulillah, I've settled in a place where I feel like, this is going to be home. I'm not planning to go anywhere else, bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. And my time allows it. I say, now it's time to go ahead and start something. I don't see this so much as a company, at least not yet, right? I see it more as a project, right? How can I, Khan Academy? It didn't start as a company, right? So I look at it kind of like that. Like, I want this to become a platform, like I said, to be an inspiration for people to go into tech, to leverage that, to make Hijrah, because I've seen what it can do for me and the people around me, and even many other people that I worked with as well. As an engineer and as a teacher when I was teaching. So I figured this could be, just like it worked for me, it could work for other people. If you think about it, and you in tech yourself, what else can give you the finance, enough money, as we know, right? And it doesn't have to be $100K or $200,000 in most countries that we live in, but it gives you enough. Now you don't need anything else, bi-idhnillah. Secondly, gives you the flexibility, right? I haven't seen anything as flexible as tech, right? Especially when we talk about, software engineers or, programmers. It's the most flexible thing. And someone who's trying to make Hijrah, you don't want to be bound by location, right? You want to be able to earn a living and be able to take that wherever you go. Today, you're in Egypt, tomorrow you're in the UAE, tomorrow you're in Saudi Arabia, or wherever you may be. All you need is your computer and the internet, and bi-idhnillahi ta'ala, you can work. So this is what motivated me. And again, I don't consider a company. And I told people, we did a few webinars. I told people, look, you don't need us, in fact, to learn how to code, right? There are plenty of resources on the internet. I know people who became software engineers on their own, who became UI UX designers on their own. Everything is there. If you need the resources, come to us. We'll give you what you need. You don't need us. You don't need to pay us a penny to help you.
Right.
But if you need to be in a community, you need somebody to, hold your hand, to teach you, to direct, then this is where you can come and we can offer that as well. But otherwise, just come and tell us that this is what I'm trying to do, and we'll give you all the resources you need, and you can go ahead and study on your own. It's not easy for most people to do that, but it's possible.
At MakeHijrah.com, we're dedicated to helping Muslims like you make the move to the Muslim world with ease. Our latest project is the Hijrah Readiness Assessment Test, a short, insightful survey designed to help you identify your strengths and areas for improvement on your Hijrah journey. Visit HijrahTest.com now and start your journey towards a successful Hijrah, inshallah.
So why do you think remote work has become so popular, especially in the tech industry?
Well, I will say maybe 2 to 3 reasons, right? One is definitely, we know that COVID changed the world, right? It may be that you hate a thing and it's good for you. So personally, I was working in office before COVID, right? And I told my company when I joined, I said, look, I want to be remote, but they told me at least you have to work here at least 6 months to go remote. SubhanAllah, I joined, and within my first year, COVID hit, we went remote and we never looked back, right? Companies realized that remote work is actually possible, right? That's the first thing, right? So COVID changed things. Secondly, there's this concept of work-life balance that we all need. I know it's overused, but really it is something that is very important for most people and for them to be the best versions of themselves, right? And also, with remote work now, companies benefit from the diverse, how can I say, diverse pool of talent they can access globally, right? Now you don't need to hire somebody only in New York City. You can hire somebody who's in Kenya, in Nigeria, and he may be the best engineer that you need, right? So, combination of all these things have made, remote work pretty much very attractive. Like I said, I just told you, I think before this, we just transitioned our whole team to remote, right? Because we realize actually people sometimes do better when they're working remotely, right? It's not always the case, but sometimes it's better. They save time from commuting, they're less tired, and a whole bunch of stuff that go into that. And tech is that field where you can do this. Because if you're a doctor, you cannot do that, right? If you're a lawyer, you cannot do that, as far as I know. But if you're working in tech, this is very much possible. Right. So yeah, these are the reasons I believe remote work has become very popular and it's a thing now.
So what makes your program unique for Muslims that want to make Hijrah?
So what makes it unique again is, alhamdulillah, the niyyah first and foremost behind this is exactly what the program says, right? Coding for Hijrah, right? I myself have gone into this for that reason. My partner who's running this program with me, alhamdulillah, it's the same thing, right? And we both were able to make Hijrah, walillah alhamd. And we believe that, it has the power to change the lives of Muslims. And we haven't come across anything out there that is catering specifically to the Muslim community that is interested in Hijrah in this, in training in the tech industry, right? Alhamdulillah, we've done it for ourselves. We know what it takes. Why not share that, right? Why not, be a means and a help and a guide to others that want to do that? You know what I mean? And we believe that this is how we can kind of give back. And we want to see, there are many Muslims who want to make Hijrah. We know this. The issue is always the financial side of things, right? They're not able to, they don't have the means maybe, or maybe their jobs don't allow, or maybe they don't even know where to start, right? And this is, our program can offer all of these things, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, because we can teach the code. Bi'idhnillah, once you learn how to code or design or the other things that we offer, then eventually, you can either work remotely, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, or you can start your own ventures and you can do that remotely. And then if you need guidance with making Hijrah, we've done it, walillah alhamd. We have experience in a few countries. We have, resources, people like yourself who we've learned a lot from, who are offering a lot of resources out there. We can be a guide and a help to other people, right? If somebody wants to move to Egypt, there's a lot I can offer them. If they want to move to Saudi Arabia, there's a lot I can offer them. And the same with the UAE, because I'm familiar with this country. So I believe our program is uniquely poised to be of benefit in many, many, many ways for the community of Muslims who care about making Hijrah. And even if it wasn't just for the Hijrah part, I would love to see more Muslims building companies. I would love to see more Muslims, solving problems that are intricate for the Muslim Ummah and for the, for humanity at large, right? Muslims historically, we build this, right? And I want to see that happen. And then I want to see Muslims thriving financially. Like, we shouldn't be poor. We shouldn't be, in the bottom. Why? Right? This is not our, our forefathers, our Salaf, if you wish, the Sahaba. You have, the risk is from Allah Azza wa Jalla. But there were Muslims that were, alhamdulillah, very wealthy, and they were able to help the Ummah. We want to see more of that, bi'idhnillah ta'ala. We can build billion-dollar companies. Why not? Why not? And tech is such an enabler, bifadlillah azza wa jal. I want to see more Muslims do this. I'll tell you one thing, if you don't mind, just I know I'm dragging it a bit here. When I learned how to code, and I got my first job, right, which was, it's a story, on its own, really. But I grew up in the Bronx, right? And in my neighborhood, I literally will go out to the park. Like, some of these kids have known me there for a long time. So I had to sort of grow up, or some of them, they my peers. I will go around and pitch to them to join these programming, to these coding boot camps, right? Why? I didn't want to see them on the streets. I didn't want to see them just hanging out at the park. Like, they could do something that could change their life. And I have not seen personally anything that is powerful and that can do that like coding. And I want to see that for the Muslims, especially for the Hijrah community, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala.
What are some common problems that people face when learning how to code? And even taking that from
learning to finding a job to working remotely. So what are some of those challenges?
Yeah, so some of the common challenges definitely include the steep learning curve, right? We know that learning to code, to program is not a walk in the park. It is not rocket science either, I would say. But, just like anything worth doing, there's a learning curve to it, and one has to, commit to it fully, and dedicate themselves to it, right? And be patient with it and know that it won't come overnight, right? So that steep learning curve is what detains a lot of people. And also, a lot of people, some of the challenges is actually it's a mindset thing. Most people have, unfortunately, or a lot of people, let me say, have a limiting mindset. They have a negative mindset. They don't believe they can do it, right? So they believe that there's this, I think, pre-notion that to become a software engineer or a developer, a programmer, whatever term you want to use, you have to be, excellent in math. You have to have ace calculus and all these other stuff. Like that couldn't be, it's far from the truth, right? So the mindset plays a huge part, right? And so that's one, the learning curve, the mindset, and also finding the right resources, right? A lot of people that go into this in the beginning without having the guidance, it's so overwhelming. It's so easy to jump from, this programming language to this library, to this framework, to this, and then you end up learning nothing. Just like Imad of Deen, right? We jump from book to book to book to book, and we end up having nothing, right? So this is some of the challenges, and I will say also, even after one learns, and also I think most people also don't know, or not most people, some people don't know what learning method works best for them. That is important to identify. Are you the type of person who's able to learn on your own as long as you have the resources, you can watch videos and read and just, follow through and get things done? If you are that person, amazing, the world is open to you. If you're not, maybe you need a teacher. Maybe you're the type that needs someone to give you a lecture, someone to hold your hand. This was me. I needed that, and so I had to go into an in-person boot camp. I sacrificed to be with my family in person, leaving them in a whole foreign country, because I needed to be in person. Otherwise, I could have done the boot camp online, right? So that's another challenge, I would say. And lastly, once people, do learn, the follow through, because the moment you finish that program and now you can build websites, web apps, mobile apps, whatever that is that you learned, that's not the end of the learning. That's actually where it starts, right? And that is I would say it's a challenge, because most people now will think, okay, now I just have to find a job. No, you have to keep learning every single day. The learning doesn't stop, right? Especially with tech that evolves, on a daily basis, it changes so fast. You must keep learning. And now the other challenge is finding a job, right?
Right.
Most people believe that once I know how to build, software, the jobs will just come to me. No, that's far from the truth. You have to be able to, you have to first and foremost have a good resume, right? You have to know how to craft that the right way. You have to be able to apply. It's a numbers game. You're going to have to apply to hundreds and thousands of jobs, right? And it's not just applying, just throw your resume out there. Each one you apply to, you must look at it, make sure that it fits, you fit for it, craft your resume, maybe make some minor changes to it to fit that job. If I'm applying to Airbnb, I have to make my resume fit for that role that I'm applying for, versus if I'm applying to Apple, et cetera, right? So these are some common challenges that definitely exist. And our program, I believe, addresses these, because we've been there, Walillah alhamd, and we experienced that. So we're trying to offer structured, step-by-step, pretty much learning path, right? Hands-on projects that we're going to work on to make sure that person knows what they need to know, because it's show me, don't tell me, right? Right? In tech,
Right.
It's not, nobody cares about your degree. Nobody cares about your certificates.
Right.
Nobody cares. They actually don't want it. Like I didn't get a certification from my coding bootcamp at all, right? They want to, can you do it? Yeah, show us. And then you got to show, right? So this is what we're trying to do, hands-on projects. And then personalized mentorship. Mentorship, I believe that is so undermined. And I will say, specifically in the Muslim community, not just with tech. I think back when I was going to college, I wish I had a mentor, right? Going into coding, the fact that we're in a program where we had mentorship, it made all the difference in the world, right? And we hear this in business, get a mentor, get a mentor, get a mentor, get a mentor in anything in life that you can, right? So we offer, we offer that bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. And pretty much, and the goal is, look, we're not doing this, just for the sake of, some momentary gain that may come out of it. It's how can
Right.
we affect this Muslim's life and their family's life and their children. This person does this with us, makes hijrah. Their children comes and learn their deen. They safeguard their deen. Who knows what the end of that will be? That may be the next Albani. That may be the next, great alim. That may be the next innovator that will impact the Muslim ummah. We don't know. And this is why, this is what we're aiming for pretty much. But these are some of the challenges that I can name. And, alhamdulillah, as far as this is concerned, we're here and we hope we'll be able to help in these areas. In these areas, yeah.
Inshallah. So do you have any examples? Do you have any case studies where you can show someone who's learned to code and has been able to get remote work or start a business or anything like that and then make hijrah and live in a Muslim world? Do you have any examples of that?
I'm thinking, can I use myself as an example? Like, because everything you're asking right now, literally 100% that's me, bifadlillahi azza wa jal. And I can give other examples as well of some people that I know, but myself, like I told you from the beginning, how I went about this, right? And I had already moved my family. I just had to go into coding. Alhamdulillah, Allah aided me so much, because when I started to learn how to code, my biggest fear throughout the 15 weeks was that I was going to finish this program and be a fraud, and I wouldn't know how to do anything. And then I would have wasted my time. But I also had trust and hope in Allah Azza wa Jal. Well, and I used to beg Allah Azza wa Jal. Ramadan came the whole month while I was in my program, right? I had no time for nothing, for anyone. I barely spoke to my children. So, but I graduated on a Friday. Before I graduated, I already had a job lined up for me. Walillah alhamd. This was not a remote job at first, but I was hired already. I graduated Friday. My first day of work was on Monday. Right? This doesn't happen every single time, but that is, inna Allah ala kulli shay'in qadir. As Muslims, we have, how can I say, an advantage only if we will use it that other people don't have. We have a Lord that we believe in, that we can beg, and we know He can do all things, right? I struggled in my program, but I knew in the end it was going to be worth it. Bi-idhnillah, as long as I fear Allah Azza wa Jal, and I take the asbab and I put my trust in Him and seek His help. And I got that job, that first job. And my final program, this company, SharpX, you're familiar with it.
Right.
I don't know if I told you, but that was my final project from that boot camp, by the way. Right? We had to do a final project to graduate. I decided to turn mine into a business. Walillah alhamd.
Right.
That's a whole other story. So I don't even want to go into that, right? But today, by the way, I'm not working for another company anymore. I left the companies I was working for. This is what I do. That company is my life now. That's what I do. And any other projects I try to do on the side. That's what's sustaining my livelihood. Walillah alhamd. Final project with Fadlillah Azza wa Jal. My partner who's doing this program with me, same thing. He made hijrah on that final project that became a business. And today, that's his full-time job. And we had over 50 employees working full-time for this company at the peak. You know what I mean? Walillah alhamd, sustaining themselves and their families. So, I left my first company after a few months because I had left my family for years. I just couldn't bear it anymore. I said, khalas, I'm going to leave and go back to Egypt. And I'm going to code every single day. I'm going to write code every single day. I'm going to push to GitHub every single day because that's what they told us to do, right? Push every day and keep building and apply for jobs. And then I went back to Egypt. I started building, writing code. I told my family, I'm going to be programming every day. And it's my free time to do this. And I'm going to be applying for jobs. Walillah alhamd, in no time, I got my first job to teach in the same program I graduated from remotely. Walillah alhamd. So that was my first remote job. And that made me a better engineer and a better, because when you teach and you help other people, you become better at what you do. And as I was doing that, that one actually was part-time. So I wasn't doing it full-time, which was great because I was learning Arabic and other things. So it worked out perfectly for me in Egypt at the time. But then after a little bit, I said, you know what? I want, it's time for me to get something bigger. I applied for more jobs. And alhamdulillah, I landed my second job while I was in Egypt. Right? I did the interview, I got hired. All I had to do was fly to the US, do my fingerprinting, and and I started. That in the beginning, they told me that's the company I told you it was not remote at first. They said 6 months. So I had to also again sacrifice 6 months to go in office with them in order to now transition remote afterwards. Right. So I went back to the States for 6 months in Boston, and I did that. Right. And then COVID hit, we went remote anyway. Walillah alhamd. So I did that. I worked with that company for over 4 years, right? Remotely. Walillah alhamd, from Egypt, from the UAE. I will be in Kenya, akhi. Wallahi, I will be. I was traveling all over the world. I was traveling in places, remote places. As long as I had my internet, I had my computer, I was working.
Right.
You know, and it was a beautiful thing. Walillah alhamd, and at the same time, I was able to run my company. Walillah alhamd. So I did this. You know, so this I'm the case study. My partner Muhammad, you met Muhammad Low. He's the case study, right? You know, and then I want to mention another story here that up to today, it's always in the back of my head, subhanAllah. When I was working as a teacher with this program, I remember a lot of people will join and they had no background in tech, right? It's literally zeros. I remember this one girl specifically from Atlanta, Georgia. Her name was Rose. And she joined the boot camp and she was doing it online while she's working at McDonald's. She was a mother, I believe, of 1 or 2 children, little children.
Right.
And she was doing this program, you know, and I remember seeing her from the start, day one.
Right.
Took her over a year to graduate, complete the program. Her first role was a remote job with Stitch and Fit, I believe it was called. Remote job, making over $100,000 a year. From McDonald's to a software engineer in a year.
Right.
Which college or university in the world gives you that?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So that's another thing. I don't believe that people, unless you're going to college or university, this is my opinion, right?
Right.
Unless you're going for something for specialized learning, you don't need to be wasting 4 or 5 years of your life, right? If you're becoming a doctor, a nurse, and a lawyer, and so, you have to do it. But now you have an option with boot camps, with these kind of programs, where you can learn like me in less than 4 months, right? Or 6 months combined with my prep. This girl, Rose, working in McDonald's, earning minimum wage, from minimum wage to $100,000 remotely as a single mother. SubhanAllah. You know, so these are like, you know, and then I know other Muslims, walillah alhamd, that live now in the UAE, that live here in Saudi Arabia, that live in Egypt, that all, alhamdulillah, went into these fields, you know, and they're working remotely, you know, bifadlillah. As far as we're concerned privately with this program, we don't have someone that we've done it with yet, where we coach them and we taught them and we train them, because it's new. We just started this. We haven't even done the first cohort yet.
Okay, bro. So for anyone who's interested in joining the program, what are the next steps?
So really simple. We have a website, which is, you know, codingforhijrah.com, right? And maybe you can share that. But it's simple. They just go on the website. They visit the website. Right now, we're offering 3 different tracks, which is one is front-end development, you know, front-end development track, a UI UX design track, and a no-code full-stack engineer track. So they just go up there and they can, you know, get the information that they need. They can contact us if they need further information. And then they just, you know, enroll, share on the website. They can either just book their spot and then we get in touch with them and we can, you know, offer, installment payment plans for the program, because it is paid. Yeah, and then, you know, we'll connect with them and they join the next cohort, which is going to start July 1st, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. But this is, and we have Q&A on the website as well. We've done a few webinars. So if people reach out, we'll be, you know, we can share that with them. And we're happy to jump on a call to give them details about the entire program. If they need more details, they just enroll and we get in touch and we get it going, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. That's it, really simple. Right now we do have a WhatsApp group where a lot of people have joined. We have a Telegram channel, but we're going to transition to a what you call it, Discord server, where we're going to build the community pretty much, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. Yeah, so we're going to have the Discord server, which is Coding for Hijrah, and I'll share that with you, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, as well.
Yeah, please, bro, man. May Allah make you successful, bro. I mean, this is just the tip of the iceberg. You know, I don't think people really know all the projects and everything that you're involved with. But inshallah, man, we'll jump on another call and talk about some other projects, inshallah, in the future.
Looking forward to it. I appreciate you having me. Looking forward to it. Jazakumullah khair. Hayyakumullah. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
If you're looking to learn to code and develop a skill that could provide a steady income, helping you to live comfortably and support your Hijrah journey, inshallah, then Coding for Hijrah is perfect for you. Visit codingforhijrah.com and join the waiting list today. Use referral code MAKEHIJRAH.